Hello? Yeah, I just realized that was an actual live stream.
Live stream.
Put your tummy in there. Lisa doesn't mind being loud. Lisa's happy.
I'm trying.
Saturday and Sunday. Okay, I'll take care of it. Okay.
So good to see you, love. Yeah. So glad you said who you are.
That's the order of the day. Yeah, way before his really got serious. I'm reading all that stuff online. It's like, yes. Oh, I know.
It's so funny, the story she told us in 1996. You know, when I tell you. listen to Jimmy for a minute.
But here's the deal. Haters
Hello. No, I feel like Jackson Mayor this week. He said, and I agree with him, this goes back 50 years, many mayoral administrations who've been unwilling to bite the bullet and do what needs to be done. But second, the tax base of Jackson has been hollowed out by white folks moving out.
That's definitely Red Trail, Red Trail 3 I mean, that 93,
That's the same thing.
this is what?
The aerators and the sewage road. The aerators, most of them were pulled up on the back. They didn't. For the city ordinance had not been maintained. They wouldn't start. Neglect.
Then what happened in the Jack? Stuff money I was So you'd say Johnny Dupree is responsible for the sewer failure that took place here? What year?
I guess it's during his last. Johnny was great the first 2 terms. I voted for him. And that's what it looked like from the outside.
I don't know. I don't know. I did hear that.
That's when they get on the branch. Yeah, that's moving That's now when we have 2 railroad overpass.
That's interesting. That's good to Well, anyway. Did you guys trying to get Johnny to pray? First time around, anyway, that's the one that's wrong. You like that? It's so damn nobody's
Please have a seat if you're willing to. We're going to take a few minutes to share comment stories if you so wish.
Excuse me.
Before I do that, if y'all are interested in grabbing a beer or any other drink, you can do so at the bar. There's food and egg rolls and Brussels sprouts right here. You've got the cracker tray over here with cheese. But please help yourself. There might be people coming in here at some point to say if they're looking for someone to deliver a drink to. So just prepare for that. But if you'd like to share any comments, I welcome you to do so. I know Kay would love to hear from you. When you live a life for 83 years, you have so many stories and experiences that you've built upon. But about 5 or 6 years ago, my name's Megan Wilkinson, by the way. Nice to meet you all. About 5 or 6 years ago, Denny asked if I would MC his funeral. Right, Denny, of course, yeah. And I'm not really sure what all that entails, but I do know that he said that if he didn't go to people's funeral, then they certainly wouldn't come to his. So, I'm waiting, but there we go. I'll be here all night, so it's I'm sure that probably when he asked me to do that, he envisioned a room bigger than this. Of adoring fans and former students and everything else. So we definitely appreciate you coming out tonight. I know Kay does. And I definitely won't even, again, just speak on behalf of the law firm family, but I'll speak somewhat on Kay's behalf. So I just have a few comments to share, and then again, I'll pass the mic off as y'all are wanting to speak about your stories or whatever it is you want to share about this day. To a lot of people. And because we love things to a lot of people, it's been a true challenge to kind of consider common thread a bit of him to share with you all. And when I really started to think about it, he's more than just a business owner or a husband to many, I might add. He's also, a lawn man to some, a handyman to others. To me, he was a true lifeline. But he's more than that. He's more than a performer or an instructor. He always acted with heart. Or at least that was the man that I came to know over the past few years. I'm sure maybe those of you who knew him in his younger, more wild years have different stories, and I would love to hear them. I'm sure all of us would. But I know that he always led with his heart, and he played music with his heart. He loved Kay with his heart, and he ate meals with his heart. It was actually, so I consider myself lucky enough to call. Oh no, we bought something? It's me. It's me who turned it on. Yeah. So when I first met Denny, he called me an earthy woman. I'm still not confident what that means. But others would have told you that I was looking into my future when I looked at Denny Behm. I had a lot of situations where I was very particular about the weirdest little things. And therefore, Denny took me along to clean some tools for K&D estate sales. And I'd get out Q-tips or toothbrushes or whatever it took and stand beside him for many hours using Super Clean. It's the purple brand, in case any of y'all are interested in cleaning things. And I would do that with him until his heart desired. And I got paid by the hour, so it was fine with me. But he, one time it was my birthday, and he took me to Lenny's, his favorite sub shop. It didn't matter if it was mine or not. It was my birthday, and he wanted to confess to me that he considered me a friend. And I think for the first time, he told me he loved me, and this is not about me, but I just think it's the setup that I think is important to share, that
he demanded patience and attention from us all. And I always appreciated that about him. I mostly appreciated that about him, and I loved him dearly. But that kind of beckons something that is on the back of an estate sale T-shirt, and that a customer has asked Kay, more than one customer has asked Kay, which is, or asked Denny, Mr. Denny, how long have you worked for Miss Kay? And as y'all know, Kay and Denny co-owned this estate sale company. We didn't know that yet. No.
What was the name of it?
And while Denny claimed to have detested that that people thought of him as an employee instead of a co-owner, I think we all know that that's not true. And one time, he cornered me on a ride out to an estate sale house in Columbia, Mississippi, which is 30 minutes for those of you who aren't familiar with the area. So 30 minutes, he sits me in the car and he just wants to talk about whatever he wants to talk about. And again, demanding patience and attention to detail. So he started talking to me about retirement, which is something he has done. How many times? So he talked to me about retiring from the estate sale company, and he said that he didn't think that he would, because it was more important for him that Kay had an opportunity to live out something that she enjoyed doing. And then, of course, he enjoyed supporting her. So through his marriages and his many lives, I think Kay taught him, or he learned something. I'm not sure which is true, but he knew that the most important thing to him was supporting Kay. And he did that until the day before his passing. And he would hate the fact that I use the word passing as a euphemism of death, because euphemisms are the worst. Close up there with buffets and family-style restaurants. And so, I think that's what's important, is thinking about how long we've all worked for Kay, right? Like if you want to celebrate Denny, we're going to celebrate Kay. We're going to support Kay, and she's the most independent and brilliant woman, and we've seen it all this past week. But I think that's the most important thing, is that we're here for Kay through this, because that's what Denny would have wanted. I shared with Kay on Friday night of his passing. There was tons of people in her house, and I said, "Man, there's so many people here." Denny would have hated it, and he would have. But if he were alive. But the truth is, now it's all about Kay, and so I think that's exactly what he would have wanted. To celebrate Kay. This is exactly what he would have wanted, to celebrate Kay, even though he would have been in a corner somewhere quietly talking with one of you, I'm sure. So cornering one of you for longer than you wish. So those are my just opening comments, and I welcome anyone who wants to come up here and share some thoughts. They don't have to be long or super thought out. Y'all can ramble up here if you wish. And those of you don't have to stand and give true attention to everyone. Would love it if you did. Obviously, it's super respectful. But if you want to, you can go get another drink, order another drink, or just take a sip if that's what you need. So, also over here, there is a guest book with several pictures of Denny. And please share stories for Kay to have later if you so choose. Oh, and Denny's favorite milk chocolate Milka bars are over here in a basket, and he would love for you to share those. So, can I pass the mic off to anyone? Yes, sir. Oh, I do want to also mention that this is being live streamed. I know you've already volunteered, so.
Hey, I'm Charles Sullivan. I live across the street, actually, from Kay's brother, Paul Alford, and I've gotten to know them over the last 25 years or so, and I've made quite a few of their estate sales, and I'm sort of a little collector hoarder. And one time I was at a sale, and Diddy called me over there, and he says he knew I had a little fondness for alcohol. He says, "Charles, legally I can't sell these, but you can make a little offer if you want to." And he had 4 bottles of some really good bourbons in this estate sale that had already been opened, and like one drink taken out of each one of them. Anyway, I wound up buying them for a song, and for like $20, I got 4 big bottles. So, and they were good. So, and then another little story is my wife was at one of their sales, and she comes home and she says, they've got all these silver coins up there. I said, why didn't you buy them? She said, well, I don't know anything about that. So I went and grabbed my wallet, went over there, and there was this man that had them in his hands. And Jenny was standing right here next to me. He had them in his hands. He was looking at them, big set. And he says, I'm going to go out to my car and get my glasses so I can see these better. I said, Denny? I picked them up. I paid for them right then. I'm walking out. And he said, wait, those are mine. I said, I'm sorry, sir. You just said you're getting your glasses. Anyway, that's a couple of stories.
Anyone else? Come on, it doesn't have to be thought out.
I go make.
All right, Ross.
Yes.
Hello. My name is Russell Archer, and I've been working with Kay and Denny for about 6.5 years now. And I met Denny on South 24th Avenue in a small building that I think was used as a salon at one point in time. And then he was using it as a place to store the tools that were being sold from the house. And so I walked in there as a customer, and he was the only one in there. And it was maybe a Saturday afternoon. And we struck up a conversation, and I was asking about a few tools because I don't know a lot about tools, but he did. And so, and we got one thing led to the next, and we just started talking about everything. And before I knew it, I think I'd been in there for about 30 minutes, and we had probably hit on about 10 different topics that we had in common. And he just kind of looked at me and said, hey, listen, if you ever think you might want to help us out sometime, just let me know, because it sounds like you'd be a good fit. And I had not thought about that. Workplace hazard. I had not thought about doing that at all, but once he mentioned it, I went home and I thought about it. I said, I think I probably would like to do that. And so I did. Kate sent me a message, and I started, and I think I probably missed 3 sales in 6.5 years. And as a matter of fact, unexpectedly, they celebrated my 100th sale a couple of weeks ago. And so that's the kind of detail that they pay attention to. But I wanted to mention one quick thing. I don't want to go anything too sentimental, but Denny was one of these people that when you're talking to him, they always say that the mark of a true conversationalist is somebody that looks you in the eyes and asks you questions, and you can tell they genuinely care. And that's what Denny did. And he did that for everybody. If you were talking to him, then you knew that he cared about what you were saying. He was listening, and he made you feel like a friend, and he made you feel like that you were the most important person that he was talking to. And I was watching a documentary yesterday, happened to be a rock and roll documentary about a drummer that passed away. And they were interviewing fellow musicians, and they were saying, this guy, he would call me out of the blue to talk about music, and we'd go out and have drinks, and I feel like I was his best friend every time I was with him. And they said, come to find out, he had scores of people that he did that with. And that was Denny. Come to find out, he had scores of people that felt a connection to him, either as an uncle, as a father, as a friend, as a coworker. He made that connection, and he cared. And he and Kay have created a special thing and a special family. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Ms. Moore?
Hey guys, I'm James Moore, Bicycle Man. My relationship with Mr. Behm started in 1974. I just graduated Pebble High and signed up to the School of Music at USM to play tuba. And he was my tuba teacher for the first year. But while that was also happening, through some strange occurrence, I had gotten connected up with the director of the Hattiesburg Narcotics Squad, who wanted me to go undercover, hang around some pool halls, try to find out where the drugs were. So I thought that sounded pretty exciting to me. I was so far out of my element. I would spend Sunday nights teaching junior high choir at Petal Methodist Church, and then I would leave and go hang around the pool hall for a couple of hours. But as luck would have it, I managed to make my first buy. It was supposed to be some marijuana laced with heroin. So it was done undercover with a wire. The agent observed me from a distance. Turns out it was oregano with baby powder. And the fun stopped at that point because I started getting some threatening phone calls by men threatening my life. And this was before caller ID. So I needed to leave town for a while. And I went to tell my professors that I was going to miss class for about a week or so. And all of them said, yeah, whatever, except Mr. Behm. He sensed discomfort in my tone, and he says, can you tell me what the problem is? And I told him. He said, come stay with me. I'll be watching for you at about 5 o'clock. When I see you coming, I'll open my side gate, just pull around in the back. You can come and go as you wish and stay in school. That's who he was to me. Thank you.
I told myself I would have some like side stories to share, and then they've all since escaped me. But I can probably come up with a couple. So as you know, Denny Behm is a living kidney donor. He shared his redundant kidney with a dear friend of his from Iowa City, right?
No,
Mason City. Sorry.
That's
My apologies.
so.
And I would be remiss to share to not speak on that. I would be remiss to not tell you how he told me about that. One day I was asking him about I don't remember what we were talking about, but he started telling me about this time he was doing roofing, and he just randomly mentioned, yeah, well, that was about the time when I was rich teen, blah blah blah. He just so casually and so humbly shares that he donated his kidney to a man that he adored and admired and wanted to ease his pain. And that man got to share many more years with his family, and then Kay and Denny got to celebrate many more years with him as well. And Denny, to say created, to say organized, I don't really know the word to use, but he developed this bike ride called the You Only Need One Kidney bike ride, YONO, or if you don't know, and you know, he often also called it Yannick and several other things. It obviously wasn't the best anagram that we ever came up with.
Even on the ride.
We still didn't know what ride, yeah. And he created these maps, and it actually happened 3 years ago to this day. And so he created these maps for us that we took on our bikes. And Patrick, is there anyone else here who participated? Patrick rode all 400 plus miles. Oh, well, Kay, obviously. Let's be honest. Patrick rode all 400 miles.
Come on with you here.
Yeah, please. Yeah, thank you. He told me he would
game
wear
shirt on.
Yeah.
These beautiful t-shirts.
They're amazing. They fit tight. I just want you to know that. Anyway, so he created this bike ride and he gave us these maps. And so, you know, if you're riding on a bike with skinny tires, like the balance is not great, especially if you're not an experienced biker or experienced athlete like Patrick is. And so he gave us these little maps that would say something like drive 15 miles and then take a left onto country road 15 and then take that for 2.5 miles. And then and it was the most honestly bogus thing that I've ever been a part of. Thankfully, Patrick's faster and he like kind of showed us, and then Kate would drive behind us in the truck. It being like, no, this way. But thankfully somebody else on the ride knew about Google. And we found way easier ways to progress through this trek, and it was honestly kind of torture. He said it was going to be 300 miles, and ended up being over 400. He said he didn't account for the travel in towns, but he spent months with these Iowa dot maps this big with these country roads, calling to be like, oh, is it a paved road or is it grass? You know, because we're traveling through soybean and cornfields.
And pig waste.
Pig waste.
that wafts just for miles.
Yeah, it was truly amazing. And that was all. That was all to spread awareness for living kidney donation. So I would be remiss to not say that that is an extremely important aspect of his life. And I just want to share that if you're feeling led to have the opportunity to spare a kidney, please choose to do so, because that would be a great way to honor Denny. I'm not saying like, go sign up for a kidney out, but if you have the opportunity to somebody close to you, please. That absolutely, I'm confident that Denny would support that. Yeah,
He would do it again.
he would do it again. Yeah.
The maps thing was totally Denny though.
Oh my God.
That you got to experience firsthand, because he's like, oh, these young whippersnappers using Google, that's not going to tell you the right cornfield road to turn on. So I came to visit a couple months before, and Kay's dining room, which, yeah, is home to lots of things anyway, mostly of his collections, were full of these Iowa maps. And he's like, okay, whippersnapper, we're going to turn here. I was like, I don't know what the hell you're talking about. And he planned everything. And I don't know that any of it went according to And on another note of that, sorry, I wasn't going to come up right now, but I thought I would join you. But yeah, he had these shirts made. We had a new shirt every day so that we didn't have to do laundry, and which was good because there weren't any facilities for that. But we headed out, and you were kind of saying, I don't know how this ride all started, but I do, and it's a little bit of something I was going to say about Denny is that he always had a way of just putting his everything into students, and sometimes that was even if you didn't ask for it, you were going to get it. And this ride obviously was something that meant a lot to him. But just before we had planned it, I had been asked to go back. And my name is Patrick Creel, by the way. So I was going to have this whole speech, but now we're like kind of interjecting things. And I'm from Taylorsville, Mississippi. And so I was one of his French horn students, and I met him in 1995. And Uncle Denny has been family for many, many years. I'll just kind of jump around a little bit back to the bike ride now. So you got the introduction. At that point, and where I am now, is that I am a horn player and teacher and performer in Austin, Texas, with my wife and son. We live there, and that's all due to Denny as well. We'll get into that in a minute. But I had told Denny, like, this is so awesome. Like, I've now graduated from Iowa with my doctorate many years ago, and they've asked me to come back and be like a feature kind of alumni performance. He's like, that's wonderful. He's like, well, let me see if I can make it. And then the next week, he calls back and he's like, well, great. Okay, so I donated a kidney. So now, yeah, you're doing this recital, but we're really doing the bike ride. And I was like, when did this come in your hands then? I was like, but this is kind of something, it's a big deal. I got to really prepare. He's like, you'll be fine with the recital. The bike ride. And we're going to do it. And I was like, awesome. Okay, that's awesome. And so then the people that I was collaborating with at the university there, I had to tell them, like, okay, so thank you for the invitation. This is really, really exciting to come back and play. It's really an honor. And at the University of Iowa, they had just built their brand new music facility, so we got to play in the new hall. And that was a special treat. And I was like, but I come with friends and things. And so we made a whole big deal about everyone that was part of that performance. That later that night, the news people were going to be there, and we were doing this whole charity ride. And it was all to raise awareness for the kidney donation and getting on the list and just raising funds for the Hennepin Medical Center in Minneapolis, which sees some of the most transplants in the whole country. And that's where Denny had donated his kidney to his high school friend, Rich Dean. So that's kind of how that happened. And that kind of goes along with just my whole relationship with Denny. We call him Uncle Denny. We call him Grandpa Denny. That's what my son calls him. He and Kay have been in everything in my life. And I feel so honored to have another set of parents because they really are that. And Denny saw potential in me in 1995 when I was coming from little old Taylorsville, Mississippi, as a French horn player who had never really had a lot of instruction or anything, and saw the potential because I can admit that I was not very good on the French horn. It was okay, but I had no lessons or anything. And he's like, I see you. And that sticks with me for so many things that I see you, as he does with everyone. And he offered me a full scholarship to Southern Miss, and it was such an opportunity for me to have that. And through his tutelage, I kept improving and we grew closer because at first we weren't that close. When I came in to start school in 1996, there were 30 French horn players there. And there's a few of them, hey, Carlos, here today. And I know a lot wish they could be here, of all the former students from the past. But they are all here in spirit and all online, hopefully. So, you know, Denny was with me with every step. And then I got ready to graduate and wasn't really sure what I was going to do. And I had taken some auditions. There were some opportunities, but as a musician, it was like, okay, I don't know if I have a job, but I could also stay in school and study and just get better at my skill. And he's like, why don't you stay at Southern Miss? And yes, a part of me had always just thought, it's time to branch out. It's really time to branch out. And Denny's like, no, I think this is a good opportunity. And he allowed me to be his teaching assistant, which were some of the best 2 years of my life. We grew so close then. He gave me so many opportunities. He was always a part of everything, whether it was playing tennis, riding bicycles, eating cookies at Subway. That was every Friday. A lesson could be cut short if he felt the urge for chocolate. And that happened all the time. I was like, but we're supposed to have an hour lesson. He's like, this is the psychology part of the lesson. Let's just break everything down over 3 chocolate chip cookies. So anyway, those were such fun times. And those 2 years, wonderful memories, because I was from Mississippi. So that was really my last 2 years in Mississippi. And then it got ready to see what I was going to do. And it just made sense at that point that even though I thought for the longest I really wanted to be in the more of the performance side of things, than just the teaching of the instrument, especially at the college level or even high school, whatever, it just really spoke to me. And I think that's because I saw firsthand the effect of an amazing teacher and the relationships you can build with your students and all. And the time came at the end of those 2 years to get ready, and I started looking at schools. And as I think everyone in this room knows, the importance of Iowa here, and that is the University of Iowa, not the other schools in that state. They don't count. That became one of the schools that I was going to audition at. So he said, you know, that makes my heart so happy. I'm just so proud you want to audition there. So let's do this, actually, is what he said. So, okay, yeah, it's an audition. I'm like, no, it's not just an audition. It's an audition to get my doctorate in music. It's a very big deal. He's like, no, you'll be fine with that. So what we're going to do is, because he's like, I'm ready to go eat Birdsell's. And that was an ice cream shop in Iowa that he just was, we always heard about that place. It was really, really special. And needless to say, my audition was in the beginning of February at that too. So I don't know why ice cream would have been on the mind in the beginning of February in Iowa. But we went, and we ended up making this whole tour of a French horn quartet that he formed with some students, Barbie Van Horn and Will Farmer and himself and me. And we went around to all the different places in Iowa that were very special to him and played. And the whole time I'm like, Denny, I have an audition to see if I can get into school. He's like, yeah, it'll be fine. That's like in 2 days, and you already prepared for that. I'm like, but we're going all around Iowa, and it was so freaking cold. But it was such an experience there. And so that quartet and that time, it was just so special. I was just really seeing for the first time, as I knew I was about to branch out and do my own thing, that I really had someone that I could just always turn to no matter what. It had just been kind of like something I understood, and it was just part of life when I saw him like every day. But seeing what was happening there was just really, really special. So luckily, we did make all of our tour dates, even though there was some really bad snowstorms. Like I said, that's where on one of them that I met Rich Dean, and that is the high school friend that he gave the kidney to. And it was really a pleasure to meet he and his wife. And they even played a part in our concert. We had a really fun time doing that because he was a very good double bass player, which Denny played as well. And then we did that, and then I went to Iowa, and Denny came to every one of my performances, whether it was with the orchestra or the recitals. And it was within that first year of being there that we really found out that Rich needed a kidney and that they would be coming up to do that in Minneapolis. And at that point, I had just started dating, who is my wife right here, Giovanna, who I met in Iowa. She's a cellist. And we went to a restaurant in Iowa City with Denny and Paul Anderson, who was Denny's teacher. That if anyone knows Denny in the capacity of the horn world, you've heard of Paul Anderson. He was very well respected. One of the first horn teachers, like full-time horn teachers at any university. So he, after the war and everything, when they started really doing more things in the arts at schools and all, and that was for our instrument that sometimes doesn't have a full-time position, he got that and was so influential for Denny, which then therefore turned into so influential for all of Denny's students and of course myself. So we went to Pagliai's, which is a pizza place to eat. And Denny had just met my wife. Well, she was dating at that point for the first time. And Denny knew so many things about my personal life. And he pulled me over and he was like, wow, she's a keeper. And how did you land this? I was like, thanks, man. And he's like, one word of advice. I'll keep this somewhat PG rated. Don't F this up. Thanks. Okay, thanks, Denny. And so no pressure there. But that was just one of the other memories of just he was always there. And then that turned into the bike ride, the kidney donation. I've run the New York City Marathon 2 times, and he was there for both of them. He and his wife. Of course, when I say he, I mean they were. And Kay has always been a part of our family. Everyone just with them, we love their family. Everyone in this room. It's so cool to see the different parts of Denny's life in this room of people that, you know, outside of the bubble that you know him as with, you know, for me, it's mainly from the music side of things, but from the estate sales, which was always so neat to hear about. And to have all that come into play here because he's one of a kind. He was a great, great man, and I will miss him dearly. And I am who I am because of him. I have a dad and I love him very much, but what Denny has done for my life is just on that level that just one can really hope for. And I'm gonna miss him a lot. And he's flying high now, and he's always with us and always with me. Cheers to Denny.
Cheers to Denny.
Cheers to Denny.
By no means do I want to drag this on, but I want to give everyone the opportunity.
Sorry, I
to
was long
share,
enough.
if they choose to do
That
so.
was really good.
Yeah, yeah. What are you going to follow that with?
Yeah.
Yeah. Who's next?
Okay, now tell some jokes about like or something.
All right.
This is not profound at all, but it's my favorite Denny story. And it's, in a sense, Denny and I were good players. In the obituary, there was one little line about that Denny came from a musical family. And one time I was talking with a retired music instructor at USM, and he was a bass player too. But we were talking about Denny, and we were talking about Denny's dad, Paul Behm. And I was not making light of it, but it was clear that I wasn't impressed enough with Denny's lineage. And I just kind of said, that Paul Behm is like a legend in Iowa bands. And I didn't know that, but it doesn't surprise me, knowing Denny. And I had met Mr. Behm a time or two, but he didn't come on by saying, I'm a legend in Iowa. He was just a nice old man. To me, that was the way I interacted with him. Well, more years ago than I want to calculate accurately, I would have said 7 or 8. I've been retired 7 years, so it was further back than that. Trustmark sponsored bringing Doc Severance to USM to play with the USM Orchestra. Actually, he did 2 or 3 times. But one of those times, because Trustmark sponsored it, we had a private meet and greet with Doc Severance. And the tickets were limited, And then he said, Paul, can you get me tickets? Can we get in to see Doc Severinsen? And Dad's always admired Doc Severinsen. Let me see what I can do because there's going to be a lot of demand for those tickets. Well, I don't remember how I got them, but I got enough tickets for David and the rest of us to get in to see Doc Severinsen. And we stood in the line, you know, you go up, shake Doc Severinsen's hand, and he says, hi, and then you move on. And I was expecting Denny and Mr. Behm to walk up and do the same thing. Hi, Doc, you know, you were a star. What was it like playing on the Tonight Show sort of thing? It's not what happened. We got up to Doc Severinsen, and Doc Severinsen turns and sees Denny and his dad there, and he says, I'll be damned, Paul Behm. And stuck his hand out. So Denny kind of played me first. So it was wonderful. Apparently, Doc and Paul had played together and toured together in the Midwest back in the 50s and 60s and such, and they were real friends. So, thanks.
Can I offer anyone else the opportunity?
All right, we got, go ahead.
This is less profound than what Paul had to say. Like a lot of good things in my life, I knew Denny Behm because of the Laughlins. And I've been through several stages of life with the Laughlins. And my kids swam at Granny's pool when she lived up there near the service road. Where is Joe here?
On Village Lane.
Yeah.
Joe.
In Joe Bolton's house. Denny and Kay were some pair, and as a lot of people have said, it's important to support Kay from here on out. And I will tell you that they're important people in our house. Our house is half furnished with with things from the sales. My wife, Consuelo, and Kay were tridelts together, and they each had lives. And then when Consuelo and I got together, Kay and Consuelo got to be Katie's sisters again. I think that's what they call it. But we have, what all do we have from those sales? One thing we do have is a copy of Sergeant Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club. Oh, wow. And we've got some 45s. That's really what's important to me. We've got some other stuff too. But I want to say that Kay and Denny were a couple. They showed that you can go down the road of life and everything doesn't always work out great the first time around, but it can work out down the road. And so, keep hope in your heart, keep your eyes open, and we'll miss Denny, but Kay's still here. So we appreciate everything. Thank you for putting this together. We haven't put all this together. Those are the end of my non-profound.
Also, probably not too profound. So I'm glad that the tuba student showed up because that means I'm probably not the oldest one of Denny's students that's here today. I actually started in 1978. My name's Lucy. And so, yeah, I'm one of the ones that he turned from a silly little kid into a professional horn player, and which I still am. And so, that was a long road, but I'm not going to talk all about it. I would love if all of Denny's students could come up here so that the folks on the live stream can see all of you.
That'd be neat.
Yeah.
One of the things that he did for us
Where's Scott?
as his students was to turn his student, his studio into not just a horn studio, but a family of horn players. So that was what he did for us. He really took through horn quartets. And by the way, you probably can't see it, but this is an Abita mug, which I got when Denny made friends with the Abita brewery owners when they first started the brewery back in the 80s, I guess it was. And he got a horn quartet to go and play at their grand opening party. And we played horn fripperies, which if you don't know Well, I'm not really sure what they thought of us, but we had a great time. And I got this time.
I was a freshman in 1985. I'm not a horn player. I'm an oboist, but he was my surrogate dad. He would drive me to Mississippi Symphony, playing the Mississippi Symphony, and every time we get to a red light and I was snoozing, he'd put his arm over there. Don't fall, you know. I was like, we have seatbelts, Mr. Behm. And he played in my wedding, and they came to meet all our children. And we're going to miss him so much. And when y'all were thinking about starting the estate sale business, he knew I went to all the estate sales in town in Little Rock. So he called me. Hey, Mary Kay, this is Mr. Behm. I want to know how to run an estate sale. So I told him everything he should do. Anyway, so that's all I have to say.
Would anyone else like the opportunity to speak? Yes, sir.
Hi, I'm John Wooten. I'm a drummer. Dan, you can perform around the world and do stuff, and then when you do something like this, it's impossible. So Denny was on my hiring committee, which he liked to remind me every time I saw him. He used to say, "I got you hired, I need you fired." Up until this point, it just hit me. I was pretty confident about myself, but I realized the only reason I got this gig is because I'm a Iowa alum. Yeah, so it's all coming together now. But and Denny was he was my mentor pretty much as a young faculty member. And so I used to ask him, what do I need to do? And he goes, well, you need to write, you need to perform, you need to have a good studio, recruit. And I said, well, I do all that stuff. He goes, that's right, let's go get a beer. And that's the truth. He'd come down and ask questions. I remember him asking me, why do they hit the chimes with a hammer? I said, I don't know. It's like, I never thought of that. It's like he would think of these things. He was a very curious person. And, one thing we're all scared of is getting old and becoming stagnant and stop learning. That's my fear anyway. But, I just use Denny as an example. As a tenured faculty member, he took improv classes from Pinella. He was always downstairs in the basement, played bass with the percussion ensemble. And so he's a great example for that sort of thing. So I'm going to kick ass till I go, just like he did. Yeah. So thank you, Denny. Go Hawks.
I don't want to make this thing drag, but if anyone has any other comments, please man.
Hi, I'm Fernanda. A lot of know me as Mama Fur, so I have a cleaning company. And my story with them goes back when I first arrived here. I'm originally from Brazil. And I remember seeing Kay and then I think Dr. Woolley bought a mattress for me or something. And we went to pick it up. So they helped me not to sleep on the floor when I first got here. But then I got reconnected to them when I opened this company. And me being like a fellow musician, going through the entrepreneur world, they support me like so much. Like many clients, even nowadays, like call me like, hey, you guys were the king in the estate sales. I was like, yes. So, and a lot of times when things were hard in business, I would see Denny and he would just look at me and see like, you're not okay. Like, you're not doing okay. And then he would talk to me, like just being like a very supportive role. But a funny story that I have is like a couple of years ago, I went through a divorce. And then not a lot of people knew yet, but he knew because I mean, we were there every other week at their house. And then he was like, Fer, don't worry, you're going to be okay. I've been through that many, many times. So it will be okay. But I want to thank Denny and Kay for everything. And we're here for you.
Seems like we might be coming to the end of comments. So I do have, oh, okay.
Sorry.
I have one more and then I'll let Patrick take the stage again. Two things. Let me grab my beer for this. I have two cheerses. One to my and many of your personal heroes, Denny Behm.
Cheers.
Cheers. You gotta drink after you cheers. And to many of our aunts, uncles, bosses, etc. To Kay and Denny Behm. And just because it only needs 3 screws doesn't mean you shouldn't use 6. To Denny Behm.
It's me again. This is my son Benjamin, and he knew Uncle Denny very well. I think, did you want to say something?
It's a short story, but I remember once we were driving down to some breakfast place in Hattiesburg, and we ridden his old, like 1970 Buick or something, and it was so old-fashioned, but it was so fun. And then all of his gifts and conversations were always so fun, and I loved it so much.
And that car's name was Large Marge, by the way.
Was that the convertible?
No. Convertible is car number 7, and that was number 11 that they still have all together, not life over time. Just one more thing to say. I promised someone that I would say a few words. Like I said, that we're so happy everyone's here. It means everything to Kay, that all of us who could be here, but with the impact and life of Denny, it's impossible to think that everyone is still in like a very close, area that they could easily come to something like this. His students are just all over the place. And so many of them are very sad that they cannot be here, but have been with him, with Kay and everyone in spirits for the whole last week and everything that's going on. And so a student that's very dear to Kay and Denny was Mary Wood is her name. And she was part of Yonuk, and she rode some of the miles. Yeah.
Most of us only ride some of them.
Yeah. Real quick about the Yonuk one more time. So we left town. That was the weekend. I had performed the recital. It was at the University of Iowa. We were going all the way to Minneapolis, the 300-mile that turned into 400 something. Anyway, so we took off. We had all the news stations there and everything. It was actually 3 years ago this weekend. So the recital was on Sunday, and then we left Iowa City on Monday morning, 3 years ago tomorrow. And the news stations, everyone was there. It was a big deal for Iowa. And all 2 stations were there. But anyway, they had all the cameras. We did the interviews, and everywhere we stopped on that ride we had news people of some sort of radio that was bringing attention to the cause, what we were really doing. And what was really happening was Denny opening his heart to just helping people like he always does. Through that ride, we did fundraising and made thousands of dollars for the hospital that went to research. And Denny had, I believe, just randomly found someone buried on Facebook that was in need of a kidney. And because of our ride, someone came forward and donated, and he is living a healthy life right now today. So cheers to that too.
Wow.
We have one more thought from Benjamin.
So, just another short story. I remember once we were at their house, and I think we were just leaving. And if you don't know, they have so many dogs. One of their dogs, Maggie, I think she got out once and she started running on the road. They had to bring the whole pet mobile out. And I remember it was fun because I think I got to ride in it. And it was really fun because there were all the little puppies.
To go chase down the doggy. Yeah, that was really fun. Yeah, I'm sure they had to do that more than once. So Mary Wood was a student of Denny's around the same time as myself. So I think she was 1 year ahead of me. So 1995 to 99. She lives in Salt Lake City with her 2 kids now, and they're all very, very close family with Kay and with Denny. And she could not be here this weekend, and they are out having a nice Memorial Weekend in one of the many beautiful national parks in Utah, because that was planned with her children. And she wrote a little bit that she wanted me to share with you guys. Mary sends that Mary and her children deeply regret that they're not able to join everyone for this weekend, but are so grateful that they got to spend all the time with Denny throughout all the years, and especially in the last month in August when they came to Hattiesburg to help with the sale too, right? I think, yeah. Denny was Mary's horn professor, mentor, travel companion, and the single most influential person in her life. He was a surrogate grandpa to Jacob and Lucy, her 2 children, who have many happy memories of visits, over-the-top Christmas packages, which we can relate to too, and packages that would come in the mail from Uncle Denny and Kay, and shared jokes. Mary's in the process, and I'm helping with this, to organize a Denny Memorial Weekend to further celebrate his life, especially with the former students who would so love to be here but just can't be here now, with a weekend of things that Denny loved most: music, recitals, bike rides, pizza and beer. That is true. Going to the animal shelter, playing with the puppies, just doing all the things that was just all such a big part of their life. And all of this will be planned within the next several months. We're looking to do that more towards the December-January holiday. And of course, that will be another Facebook announcement for any who are in the area and could make that, especially if there's some performance of some sort. And for those of you who are here that maybe don't really even know what the French horn is, you could come hear it being played. And we'll be doing some things like that, and maybe have some other people join double bass and percussion, and whoever can make it for that. So please reach out and keep an eye on Facebook to keep for Denny's Facebook page for information about the event. And Mary sends you all hugs and kisses, as we all do. And so one more time for Denny. Cheers. Sure. Probably everyone is empty now. I know. It'd be nice to be able to walk over. All right. Love to everyone in the room.
Thank you.
Just don't forget, if you wish to share a short memory, there's a book over there. Feel free to go back to the bar, enjoy as many beverages served in a glass, as Denny would request, as you wish. And I know that so many of us have so many stories untold and so many experiences. So please choose to share those with Kay over the next few months. And I appreciate y'all all coming here. Thank you very much.
Oh, really? Well,
Thank y'all for joining. Bye.